So, do you have any extra labubus?
Of course I do. I have way too many.
Okay, so hear me out. We're going to take all your extra labubus. Not only are we going to sew weave onto them, but we're going to cover them in beads and we're going to throw them out at Shadows and Seduction instead of beads. Yeah? Or we can
I
put them on a beaded necklace and throw them out.
I think shadows would be a whole different experience at that point.
Right? It'd be, it'd be Party Gras instead of Mardi Gras.
Party girl, here we come. Hey guys, welcome back to the Dark Collective podcast with your host, me, Miss Red, and then the ever so blonde, so gorgeous, so pigtailed Allison is here.
Hey.
First of all, I love that when we do these podcasts, like for those of you that are listening and not watching, I have my hair in a bun. I do have lipstick on, but Allison is full glam, adorable
Full
little
beat.
pigtail space buns with her hair curled, looking like a hottie patati. And then I look like, I was like, hey, I'm here.
Well, if I don't put some work in, I look like frickin' Shrek. So,
No, you
you
could
know.
never look like Shrek. You could never. The only time you could have even remotely is when we colored your hair green. That was like the only time.
But that green was it was a vibe. It was a vibe.
It was like tennis ball green. It was such a vibe. It was
Yeah.
such a vibe.
Loved it.
Well, you guys, we're going to keep this intro pretty short, but we do want to come on here because we are about 8 months away from Shadows and Seduction. So we're in planning mode. We're in let's go mode.
Yeah. Let's effing go mode.
Pretty much. I literally, I know we've talked a little bit about what we're doing at Shadows. You know, there's not much out yet, and by the time this comes out, still not a lot will be out yet, but it's coming. We promise. There's stuff coming. I just can't wait to go to New Orleans with Allison because I know for a fact she's just gonna be like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? We're gonna do that. And then she's gonna pull me and be like, Red, you are getting off track here. Come with me. Stop staring at the sparkly stuff.
No, but honestly, I don't think I'm gonna sleep when we're in New Orleans because I want to go on all the ghost tours and
Oh,
haunted cemetery tours, and I want to get supernatural.
We went into this really cool like voodoo museum. It was like close to Bourbon, but we went in there just to get just to see what it was about. We didn't actually do the tour, but there's like a lobby area where you can like look at stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm just like walking around. I'm like, ooh, cool, spooky stuff. And I went to go touch something, and this guy was like, don't touch that. And we were like, oh my God, why? And it was because it was like this historical voodoo stuff that was part of the museum tour. And but I just, it had something sparkly on it, and I wanted to touch it. And it was really
If they don't
cool.
want you touching it, it should have been enclosed, okay?
I think it's because it said 18 and over and they thought they were talking to adults, but most of the time I'm not an adult.
Yeah. But I mean, also, you don't want to touch voodoo and hoodoo stuff.
You know, it happens.
Rule of thumb, don't touch the witchcraft.
But either way, like when we were in New Orleans, I think one of the funniest things was obviously I do their hair while we're in New Orleans, and we had to go to Cosmoprof, which is where hairstylists buy their products, or it's also called Armstrong McCall. And we drove by this gorgeous cemetery, and I was like, and it had like snow on top of the headstones because it had just had their weird first snow in 17 years. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. We should go do a photo shoot. And Joy's like, stay on task. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm okay. I'm leaving. I'm sorry.
I think Joy of all people would have wanted to take a photo shoot. That's
Right?
very cosplay on brand.
I know. But you guys, either way, you're going to have an amazing time in New Orleans. We're going to have an amazing time in New Orleans. We are super excited. And we actually are super excited about today's episode too. Allison, who do we have?
We have the ever so amazing, the ever so lovely, the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful A.M. McCoy.
Yes. And Allie is an amazing human. We cannot wait for you guys to meet her. So please enjoy. Hey guys, so please welcome the ever so gorgeous, so lovely, so tattooed A.M. McCoy is here.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We are stressed. We're getting down to the wire, but we are good. We are so amped for New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do we find you on socials?
So I am on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. It's AM McCoy _ author. And all of those, I tried to keep it, the same because things get confusing.
No, yeah.
But those are my three mains. I'm on Threads too, but I'll be honest, I don't know how to use it.
Same.
Same.
Like literally same. Like Allison and I were talking about this one time, just because like Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it nowadays.
Right.
I'm like, Threads is basically a different form of Twitter, but it's just like a more angrier place. So I just kind of like stay away. It's like a haunted house you never wanted to go into.
If I want to know what's going on in the world, like I'll go to Threads, but it usually depresses me and then I leave.
Like it's easier to find the tea on Threads than it is on like X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But like, it's a scary, aggressive place.
It is.
No, it's exactly. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So we start out with this question with everyone. What genres do you write?
So I fall between dark and contemporary. I'm not like I have trouble calling myself dark because there's dark that like do it justice, and I'm more dark like I dabble. That kind of thing, like, you know, spicy dark, but not, you know, super pitch black dark. But mostly everything I do is spicy. So that's kind of what I will tell people. Like, if you're looking for smut, that's me, you know. But I go across a lot of different tropes. I don't ever fall into just one, but somewhere between the dark and the contemporary.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I did not start in the dark right away when I started coming into the book world. Like, definitely was more fantasy based, and like I dabbled. Now I'm in therapy for how much dark I read. So, you know, I think, but there's because like sometimes I'm not in the mood for that like hardcore dark. Sometimes I do want like, I want the smut, I want the spice, I want everything nice. But then I also don't want like depraved. You know what I mean? So it's like,
you gotta be in the mood for it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, when did you start your author journey?
So I kind of like wrote a book and threw it at the wall and saw if it would stick kind of in like 2019 and did nothing with it because indie authoring is a lot of trial and error and there's no like manual that you can find. And then I started again in 22. I was kind of like, okay, like let me do some research this time and let me kind of give it a better go. So in 22 is when I released my first like real book, if you will, is kind of how I look at it. That was in March of 22.
Oh, wow. See, I say this every time when I hear this, when I do these interviews and I hear that authors have only been writing for like a few years or they've released their book in the past few years. It shocks me because I think every single one of you have been writing for 20 plus years. You know what I mean? Because I can barely write a text message, let alone a full blown book. So,
Well, and I too think with like indie authoring, like we can produce books so fast. I know a lot of us do anyway. And so it's like, we'll have, you know, this big backlog, but it's like, we've only been doing this a couple years, you know, compared to the trad route where it's a couple years between each book. So,
you know, and I won't lie to you. It wasn't until Sinners Year One that I learned about the biggest difference between traditional and indie writing. Like I knew a little bit, but not enough to say that I was like perverse in it. And I was like, I run an event. I probably should know everything there is to know about that. So like I made Caitlin Taylor sit down and explain everything to me. And I was like,
she's a good asset to have.
That makes a lot of sense. So speaking of like different authors and how people do things. So what is like, how do you prepare to write? What is your mindset? Like, are you a plot type of writer or do you do scene based? Like what's your process?
I wish I had the brain power to sit down and like plan a book from like start to finish. Like it would make my life so much easier, I'm sure. But I am just one of those people that like I'll have an idea or like a trope is kind of where I start. Like, do I want this to be Why Choose? Do I want this to be dark stalkery? Do I want it to be small town? You know, like that's kind of where I start, and then I'll like figure out the characters, and then I'll kind of figure out the direction it's gonna go, but that's kind of it. Like I'll start with character names, ages, and a location and just figure it out as I go.
Awesome. And I feel like that's the same thing with me when it comes to like anything to do with hair, because that's what I do is, you know, like I have no idea what I'm doing with most of the time when the clients are walking in until my text messages from my online booking system sends me a text. This is what you're doing. I'm like, oh, okay. Because, you know, we just can't remember things that easily. And when I read a book, it's just so crazy because I read it as if, did they just come up with this in one night and just write it all instantly? Or did this take years? Like, it's just like such a cool process on how other people do it.
I know, like, I have friends that are authors that like know how many chapters a book is going to be and they know what's going to happen in each chapter. And I'm like, lady, I don't even know how many like words this is going to be. It could be 80,000 words. It could be 120,000 words by the time I'm done. I have no idea.
Yeah, we spoke to another author, and she talked about how when she would sit down to write, she would be like, my goal is 30,000 words. And I'm like, I can't even do a 150 character bio about myself.
Right?
How are you doing 30,000 words?
Yeah, no, that's insane. That's awesome. Great.
Right.
Like cool.
Amazing. Like mind blown. And it's like, I can't even be like, same as Red, as I read and then I go, wow, how did they get to this point? Like, how did they come up with this? And, you want to kind of get into your mind, even though like we're all about the characters in your stories, but we're like, oh, how'd you do that?
Right.
And I always want to know, like, from every author, like, what is the most difficult scene you've had to like write, or what gave you the most challenges?
For me particularly, it's a whole dang book, honestly. So I started a series in 22. It was it's called the Shadeport Crew. It was kind of like a dark, underground crime world, not like mafia, but, like in California, crime, just gangs and crews and things like that. And I wrote book 1 and book 2, and they were great, and they came off super easy, like I said, like really fast and stuff. And then book 3, I got to, and her story was like, it was dark, but it was difficult. She had been trafficked previously. And I sat down to write it, and I was just I wasn't doing her justice, so it was like, I got to walk away, because this is not a book I will ever, allow myself to write and not do justice because of the things that she had experienced. So I actually just finished that book this year, like this last month. So it's taken me 3 years. I've started, I've stopped, I've gone into it, and I've walked away. And so it was funny when I was editing it, because I was like a totally different person for the first 10 chapters of it to, the last 10 chapters and things like that. But I haven't necessarily had like a specific scene that's ever been too hard. Sometimes I'll walk away from something and come back to it later on. But this book itself has been a labor of love.
Yeah. Well, that's great that you finally got around to like finishing it and coming over those challenges.
Right.
No, I love that. So how do you, this question's kind of hard because like, it could be Bob, it could be Tom, but like, what is your process to naming your characters? Like, do you reference things?
I relate it, so like people ask me that all the time, and I'll be like, I don't know, like, how do you pick baby names? Like, you hear a name that you like hear that you like, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna write that down and keep that in the back of my mind, that kind of stuff. I go on when I'm really stuck, especially like for side characters. Mm-hmm. I struggle with the most because I don't want to use one that I love, because I want them to have their own full character. But like the side characters, I'll get like bored. I'll be like, Tom or Bob, like you said, like, I'll go on sometimes to like the regular, like the name generators on the internet and just be like guy names and just look through them, or even searching baby names and seeing just what kind of speaks. There's been times in my books that, like I said, I'll have a side character from one book, and then like a year later, I'll write a book and be like, let's use that side character name that was like in like maybe a chapter of this book, and I'll use it in this book. And it's like little Easter eggs almost that you can like go back and, see. Some readers that will start to finish my backlog, and they'll be like, oh, this character was in this book as like just a random person on the street, but then this character had the whole book was that name. So sometimes I get creative, sometimes I have to reuse.
That's okay.
So now I will just have the mental picture of like every author on Google going baby names, toys, 2025, 2026.
Hey, some of these baby names are really cool.
They are.
Well, and it's like, you never know if like, oh, did they know someone with that name? Like, is it named after someone? But now I'm just like, no, they're just doing it the same way the parents are. Like, let's throw names at the wall and see which one sticks.
Open up a book and just find one that you like. Yeah, because if it's somebody then that person's like, especially with writing smut, like if I were to use a name of somebody that I'm going to run into on the street, they would be like, were you thinking of me when you wrote this DP? And I'm like, no, definitely wasn't. Like,
nope. Like, it's just a name.
Just like I was telling Allison a couple weeks ago, I was in a grocery store and this mom was yelling at her child whose name was Khaleesi. And I was like, you were a Game of Thrones fan. Yep. Game of Thrones.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of...
You can find it.
Exactly. Like, slowly but surely people hear a name. I love that name. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, how many Bellas were born, Jacobs, Edwards, all that stuff.
Sparkle. sparkle.
Yeah, Christians, all of those, they all pop up. So, I mean, it's I've always wanted to know, like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I could just imagine when you're doing any of your research for your books, for your scenes, whether it's kink, consent, emotional complexity, like, what's the craziest thing you've had to Google search from the internet, on the internet?
So I just finished a series that was dark. The titles of the book are Stalker, Bully, and Psycho. And they're all serial unalivers and, you know, things like that. So, like, Googling things like, what chemicals make flesh melt? You know, like, things that definitely get you on a watch list somewhere.
Right.
Those for sure. But in terms of, like, technical things, like, I've written a couple of sex club or, like, lifestyle books. And, like, I'll look up, like, the Shibiri ties and, you know, like, which one would be appropriate for this situation and, like, use the name specifically. So, like, maybe there's readers out there that do it and can relate and be like, oh, yeah, I know that one, you know, but I don't know that, so I have to Google it.
Definitely one of those delete my history.
Right. Just, no one can see this at all whatsoever. Right. And I think it's interesting because, like, you know, Joy tries to explain to us. Joy's our part of our Dark Collective, and she does shibari and, like, all this really cool stuff. She's a cosplayer, so she knows a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And sometimes she'll try to explain to me, okay, Red, let me show you how to do something real quick. And she'll bust out the knot with a little teddy bear and show me. And I'm like, it's like tying your shoe. And she's like, no, not at all. And I'm like, damn it.
Right? Yeah. No, I definitely need diagrams too.
So, okay, so you talk about, you know, the different things you've Googled, and it's like crazy, which we love. We love a good unhinged Google search. Right. But if you were to bring any of these characters you've written about and you were to bring them home to your parents, who would it be and why? None of them are appropriate.
But also, like, right? But also, like, my parents would expect nothing less at this point. So, so one of my small town series that I started with, Bailey Dunn, that was my first. It was a Why Choose with twin brothers, and you kind of got, like, the Mr. Sunny and Mr. Grumpy and the twin brothers. They were, you know, opposite. So you get the one that's all broody and dark and grumpy, and then you get the one that's charismatic and, you know, outgoing. So, like, Finn Camden from that one is kind of like, you know, he's a police officer, he was a high school football coach, like, he was, I guess, if you were going to bring a boy home, like, that's what you would want to bring home. But he was also deliciously dirty in the bedroom, so, like, I guess in terms of my parents not knowing what happens in the bedroom, he would probably be good.
I think you could probably also take Dallin home.
Oh, yeah.
The tattoos and, like, being owner of a tattoo shop might give some parents, like, older parents, some, like, hesitation, but he seems like on surface level. Yeah. He could slide right in there without them knowing all the polyamory stuff.
Yeah, he's a little more poised, you know, in public, I guess. Yeah.
So I do want to add to this question that's not on the question list, just because I like to spring a surprise question or two. Are any of your characters based on people you know?
Not really. I definitely take bits and pieces of, you know, of things like that. Like, so Lex is from Twisted Lace. She is this badass emo Barbie tattoo girl, you know, and stuff like that. And it was funny. So I was just finished Twisted Lace, and it had kind of, like, Twisted Ink had kind of blown up and stuff like that. And I was getting my sleeve finished, and I have Beauty in the Ink written across here, which is the title of the series. And my tattoo artist that I had just found gave me such Lex vibes. And I was like, if I'd have met you before, like, while I was writing this book, like, it would have been, if I could have picked a character and put her in real life, like, exactly like that, you know, situation. But I don't know that I've ever had somebody that I've, you know, been able to, like, pick one person and put them all into a character.
Okay.
Most of them are
unhinged, so. I like to spring that question on people sometimes, just because, you know, sometimes I find that people are like, well, no, but yes, but no.
Right.
But maybe.
Well, and it's kind of cool to, like, run into your character in the wild. Like, even though you, like, this was a thing that I created, and then holy smokes, you're real.
Yeah, right? Like, intimidating almost, because then you're like, don't embarrass myself, but also, like, you know.
You're like, I wrote a book, and, like, you're, like, in the book, but, like, I didn't know you.
Right? Be flattered. Don't be weirded out, I swear. It was
no, it's not weird. Well, we love your tattoos. What else do you like to do for fun when you're not writing?
I'm pretty boring. actually. I'm
highly doubtful.
Well, I live, like I said, I live in like nowhere, New York, which, you know, I'm blessed that I live close enough to a ton of stuff, but I'm also like, there's nothing right here. So I'm just kind of like a family gal, like outdoors, you know, we have orchards and animals and things like that. That's kind of where we spend most of our time, in the warm weather, at least. In the winter, we, you know, sit in the house and hibernate for 6 months, but, I read a lot more in the wintertime too, which is nice, but that's one of my downfalls of being an author is my reading time has taken a hit. I never have enough time. Like if I have idle time to sit there, it's usually I'm working. I'm usually writing, so it's hard to find the time to sit and read, but it's my favorite pastime.
Well, you and Allison relate. Allison has a goddamn farm in the middle of San Diego.
Yeah, well, we're like on the rural outside area of San Diego. We got goats, chickens, turkeys. We just had our first turkey egg that was laid yesterday. Quail, a horde of dogs, and we have 2 lambs coming.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Yeah, my husband wants to have a petting zoo, so like that's just our life.
Mine's trying to convince me to get cows, so I named one of our chickens Cow, and I was like, "Look, we have a cow.
That's
like
hysterical.
we don't need cows."
We had a koi in our pond that was named Moo.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my
Hey,
God.
see, again, the naming of things, you know, not only naming of book characters, but of animals. Sometimes you just got to go with it.
Yep.
Here I am over here with 2 dogs and 2 rabbits, and I'm like, I have a farm. No, but you know, it's fine. So we talked about your books, and it took you 3 years to write. So do you have anything upcoming for your readers to look forward to?
So like I said, book 3 of this series is coming out in August. But it's one of those, like, this series was so long ago, and I found most of my readers recently in the last like year or two. So not all of my readers even have gone back that far yet. So it's not necessarily it's not what I'm considering like a big release. You know, it's more of just a here to the people who have been with me. I'm so sorry. Like, here's finally this thing that I can give you. But I actually, so Twisted Ink and Twisted Lace were just picked up in a book deal for print rights. So
congratulations!
Thank you. So we're starting that whole process of them getting their glow up and getting put on bookshelves, and which is just mind-boggling. But so that's probably the most fun. I don't know where I'm going. Right now I'm planning for Sinners and book conventions and things like that. So I'm focusing on that because that's brand new to me too. So that's a big step out of my comfort zone. But I don't have on deck, but I have like 15 of them half written.
Well, then that means that there's 15 coming down the line at some point.
Yeah, there's always something in the works. I just don't know what's next.
Oh,
that's okay. What are you most excited about for Shadows and Seduction 2026?
First of all, like, location. You guys knocked it out of the park with picking NOLA, because like the character of that city alone, I've never been, but like everybody knows like the fun you can have in NOLA, like, you know. So I think like in terms of travel, I don't travel very often, so I'm super excited to get to go there, and then to get to go there for Shadows and Seduction, double win, right? Like, you can't go wrong. But I think I was really nervous when I first signed up for book conventions because I have imposter syndrome, and you never quite feel cool enough to go to these things and, you know, fit in, if you will. But I feel like since being, you know, accepted to Shadows and joining the Facebook groups and seeing the people posting and seeing what readers are looking forward to, I think it's so fun to find people that you're going to get to meet in person and put a face to a name. You know, you see a username on a computer all the time, people that are interacting, but getting to, you know, really be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and be like, oh my God, we've been talking for a year, you know, on posts and things like that, but getting to meet them in person, and that's going to be amazing.
Well, I will tell you, so as at Art Collective, we went back in January to see the venue, we just wanted to go. Like Jen was the only one that had been because she had signed the contract. She's the owner. So she's like, let's go check it out. But in New Orleans, what I will say is everywhere you go, you could go to, I literally went to a gas station and a hair store because I did my friend's hair in the hotel room. there's culture everywhere. There's something to do everywhere. And the food is, Bourbon Street is an experience.
So excited.
But for me, I love things spooky. I love things that are, anything that's supernatural, really. So when Jen told us we were doing NOLA, like it was official, like, because what no one knows, we've been talking about this since before Boston, that we wanted to do something there. And I said, if we go to New Orleans, there's only one thing I want to do. I want to do everything, but there's one thing I have to do, and that is to go see the Coven House from American Horror Story, because that house is so famous. And I cried, but it's fine. I don't have emotional problems, but we can't wait to have you there. Like the hotel is so beautiful, and the people that we're working with to do the event, like the managers and stuff, they are so excited to have us. And I think it's just going to be such a really cool thing for you to also see authors that you may never meet in person. You'll get to see them there too.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm excited, and like you said, having Sinners First, and like I'm so excited to be a part of that alone, and then to get to go to Shadows and Seduction as well. Like I'm like, ooh, pinch me! Like how did this is like the the trifecta, if you will, of fun. But I'm excited to meet the authors and see some that are going to Sinners that are also going to Shadows, and kind of really create a community, because being an author, especially an indie author, is kind of alienating. We sit in our homes, most of us, all the time. We don't have a lot of these functions that we can go to regularly. A lot of it's just these big conventions a couple times a year. So it's kind of like a reunion, or like a girls' weekend, if you will, where we can just have fun,
Sinners last year really set the tone. Like, even though this is like, it's about dark romance, supernatural, sexy, like that, it is literally the Taylor Swift concert of book conventions. Like, everybody is just so happy to be there, and they want to make sure that everyone's having a good time. Like, it is just phenomenal, and I can't wait to see that energy in New Orleans as well. Like that itself is going to be raised to a whole other level.
Yeah. Now, you said this earlier, and I was maybe I misheard, or I'm hearing things in my walls. Have you been to any other events before?
I've been to one. It was a small little local one here in New York. It was Romance in CNY, and it was smaller, but it was like free general admission, and it was like a 4-hour signing. So like. And then
so this is going to be your first like big event, big convention.
Yeah, I haven't even been as a reader, and so it's fun.
Oh, wow. I will tell you this: the one thing I can promise you, your registration will be flawless. You will have plenty of time to sign up. There will always be people. We have 150 volunteers this year, so you will never break down your own boxes. Like there's so many things that we put into place for people that have either gone to a lot of events or who haven't, and things that are missing that need to be changed. We took all of that into consideration, but I need to find you at the ball, because I know everything that's happening, and I just want to go up to you and be like, you having fun yet?
Right? You'll see me sitting there in the middle of the ball with my eyes just going, oh my God. Like, no, the FOMO last year of watching it all unfold online, and like stalking people's profiles in real time as they're experiencing it, and it was like,
Oh, well, thank you. Well,
and the Dark Collective is really good at like one-upping not only themselves, but other things they see. They're like, we could do that, but let's do it the Dark Collective way.
Right.
So you will have a blast every step of the way.
I'm so excited.
Miss Allie, thank you so much for coming on here. We had a blast meeting you. You are so kind, so sweet. Like, can I hug you when I meet you?
Absolutely.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm going to hug you, because I feel like you just look huggable, and I want to hug you.
Oh, thank you.
But for me, thank you so much. And thank you so much for believing in us to come to 2 of our events. We cannot thank you enough.
No, I'm the one that's like, you want me? Like, you guys are so cool.
Well, we are so excited to meet you. Thank you so much for sitting down with us and answering our questions.
Thanks for having me.
And I can't wait to meet you as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you guys. So please make sure you guys check out Allie or A.M. McCoy on all of her socials. Give her some love. When you are in New Orleans, go say hi to her at Shadows and Seduction. And make sure you guys tune into the Dark Collective podcast every other Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific and 12 p.m. Eastern. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Bye.